I really love about this project, and one of the reasons why I really wanted you have you on board with Coffee with Bob is because it is a film with a social conscious, right? And that I think really speaks to what's going on today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So the homelessness aspect of it, we thought a lot about that, and it really grew out of our writer, Vivian Kerr's, her experience of, she and I both live in Los Angeles, and over the last 5 years, the situation here has become noticeably worse,
Mhm.
right? Like we walk 3 blocks to the grocery store and we pass a tent city, and it just feels different.
Right.
And she she felt like the way homelessness was generally depicted on screen was one of two things. It was either a commentary on the failings of the system, the way drug abuse is not treated well, the way the foster care system fails people, and like that ends up with homelessness.
Mhm.
Or it's like the hidden prodigy, right? The violin prodigy who just, you have to just discover him, and like magically he can play everything.
Right.
And what we hadn't really seen was a story about what it would be like if she or I suddenly didn't have a paycheck coming in, couldn't pay rent, found ourselves living in our car. Um, for lack of a better term, we've been calling it middle class homelessness, but it's certainly over the last year, I think, has become a circumstance that is all too familiar for people, as whether it's like the circumstance they are living or the circumstance that's just like right outside their door and they can see it, as like, oof, I'm just like right up, so close to that, and please don't let that happen to me. But I think she really wanted to explore what that would be like. We shot in 2018 a short film, Proof of Concept, which was enough of the story to lay out that character's circumstances, that she's living in her car, that she's dealing with this, that she's trying to maintain appearances. And we took it on the festival circuit, and it was really incredible how many people, like at every screening, somebody would come up to her afterwards at the bar, at the party, just sort of sidle up and, in hushed tones say, when I first moved here, I was living in my car for 3 weeks and I didn't tell anybody. And I haven't told anybody about it for years. I haven't thought about it because it was like this moment in my life that I just put into a box and shut it away and pretended it didn't happen. And yet everybody seems to have that. Like
Yeah.
so many people have had this experience of being on the brink of falling through the cracks, and like there's a question of, will they manage to pull themselves up or fall through? Now the character in our story happens to have family that she can turn to. She has to sort of find it in herself to do that, but a lot of people don't. And then what happens to them in that situation? So we hope that it inspires some empathy around around all of that, and also some self examination about the choices that we're making, and maybe in what ways are we getting in our own way from being happy and like moving forward with our lives.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an incredibly worthy project, one that I'm sure is going to gain some ground once it's released and actually gets out there. Are you hoping for like theatrical release, or is it going to be a
Yeah.
video on demand kind of thing?
Well, so our ideal scenario would be that we premiere at one of the major festivals, so Sundance, South by Southwest, Toronto, Tribeca, and then, fingers crossed, with the work of our sales agent, we secure a buyout from one of like the major indie distributors,
Mhm.
A24, Neon, Bleecker Street, those kinds of companies who are, they work with these sort of little indie gems, and then ultimately then the decision would be up to them. But often what happens is they'll do a limited theatrical release. You know, they start in like New York and LA in a couple theaters. And then if it does well, they expand to the next, 6 cities or something.
Mhm.
And then it goes to streaming. So yes, certainly it would eventually be on streaming, one way or another. And then, worst case scenario, we don't get a buyout, and we do self-distribution, and it would still then go to streaming because we would just be making those deals ourselves instead of the distributor making them.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe Amazon or Apple will pick you up. That would be awesome. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for joining me on Coffee with Bob. I would like to invite you to do a live so that we can have an extended conversation about that, because I'm sure, and we can invite people to ask questions as well too. Maybe when we get closer to your cutoff date for the refund page to really generate some interest, we can do that. That would be awesome if you're open.
Yeah, I would love to do that. That would be great.
Right, great. Well, thank you so much for being on Coffee with Bob again. This is a very worthwhile project. Again, if you're not connected, if you're not following, and if you're not engaging with Rachel, you're really missing out. You need to connect with her. You need to engage with her, because the work that she and her team are doing is just amazing. And I think it's going to change some things. I really do. You're going to have an impact, Rachel. She is definitely that one connection that will change a life. Thank you very much for being on Coffee with Bob. I want you to have a great, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks.